Hello. How's everybody doing? I'm armed with latte and 335. A little timing here. Hopefully my beautiful and awesome wife will stay asleep. Today we're coming at you to discuss the often overlooked sixth mode of the major scale. So today we are talking about B major's sixth, which is A flat minor. And I have this nice little groove here. Natural minor, okay? So this is going to be boo! No A. Okay, so aside from that humongo, that's a giant Japanese clam there. Yeah, it is in fact melodic, although they would not be the melodic minor. We are talking about the natural minor scale. Okay, oft preferred by Mr. Mark Knopfler. Big fan of this sound, okay? So that means whenever we see a minor chord, if it goes down 2 frets and then another 2 frets to the major, okay? That's kind of like, Stairway to Heaven, A minor to F major, right? Very, very common in like metal as well. E minor to C, that kind of thing, right? So what does that do for us? That puts us in this as if we're in A flat, E, C sharp minor, E, C sharp minor. Right, this is like the jam in Brothers in Arms, but basically turned into a little bit more of a space jam with a little bit more funk to it because there's no drums. I did an envelope filter with fuzz on the bass. It's kind of fun here. We've got this kind of thing going. filter, a little good, little ostinato. All right. This is as forgiving an environment as we can have. Okay. What are we playing? B major over top of the whole thing, right? Okay, so whenever we're faced with something that's so intensely, I guess, defined by a specific mode, okay, this is very, very definitely the sixth mode minor of B major. We can now, I mean, it is all diatonic, right? Nothing, no, right? There's no need to make anything funky. We don't have any kind of, there's no break in the modality. So if you recognize a song or progression that is, in fact, just like one thing, what does that open for you? Are we limited to this one sound? In a way, yeah. And in another way, no, because this is the sixth mode of B major. So while I was playing, I was thinking about B major ideas. That's a pretty straight ahead B major lick, right? I'm going from the third to the root to the major seven to the fifth to the third, right? So I'm thinking B major over all that stuff. Okay, but it sounds minor. Okay, so if we were then to say B major, so then what else is that? That's C sharp Dorian. Let's look at that sound. Okay, that sounds money, right? If we keep going up, right, we're going to end up with, what is that going to be? So if we had B, so we would have E flat Phrygian. That's going to sound great. Right? last but not least, we'd have E Lydian. Very spiritual sound there. Then with E Lydian, so an F sharp mixo. Modes of B major sound dynamite over this. So any homework that you've done in any of those modally adjacent sounds, you can totally snake and kind of repurpose towards sounding right in the sixth mode of B major, right? So that's where modes come in super handy. So if we learn our arpeggios, right, we've got our... That's going to be our A flat minor arpeggio. Okay, and that's old Tim Miller at work right there. That's 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now, there are other shapes that are defined, you know, could delineate that chord as well. If we, rather than coming here, we could bring the 9 out by coming here. So here's the difference. Or very, very sweet sound, okay? Now, obviously, I've stacked the deck in my favor. I mean, I'm the host of the party. I'm gonna make sure I feather my nest just right. So let's take a look at what's going on here. We've got a, sorry. It was cold while I was outside dealing with Junior this morning. He had to get up to his swim practice. And now it's sweaty down here in the basement because it's nasty out there. All right, so if we're looking at what am I doing, I've got like a mildly overdriven sound. Drenched in space. I mean, it is positively goop, right? Whoops. So what does that mean? That means that I can get away with barely playing and have it sound really, really nice. Okay, so if I just deal with, that's minor 3 root. I mean, it's pretty easy, actually. It's a very forgiving loop that I've made up for myself. It's interesting in and of itself, right? So what are we doing? Are we going to emulate a crappy band behind us when we create a loop for ourselves to have fun over? No. All right, take the time. Do it right. All right, so what did I do? I put out a little click track. I took out the song I wanted to kind of steal the vibe of. All right. And I went and I figured out what those chords were. I figured out what it was. And I went and made a little tiny... like that kind of loop. Made sure it looped nicely. Took out a bass and went... And then I took out this guitar again and went to just a little ostinato with a little bit of a phony Leslie sound on it. That's what's happening here. And now, that's bridge pickup. A little too shrill, right? And I mean, a lot of the ideas that I do over major chords, i.e. B major, they sound different, but they work. So that's the first thing I'm doing, is I'm stealing from my B major chops. What did I do there? I went like, blah, blah. So that's a pedal steel lick in the key of B major. Sounds lovely, right? So what am I doing? I'm actually going from root 2-3 or root 9-3 over to, right? And then I'm grabbing the 5. Instead of over a B chord, right? Normally I probably would have gone. Okay, so we could stay with that idea, but that's what I mean by the power of like having modal knowledge, right? If you can shed and understand how the various minor and major chords are interrelated to the parent scale, it's like being given an answer key, or at least a way of finding mutually aligned ideas, right? Because we all have to coordinate the ideas and fingerings that we learn with some sort of filing cabinet in our brain. At least I do, right? So I'll list in my mind, I think about things as stemming from their original purpose often. So that little lick, right? I would think of that as being a B major pedal steel lick. But in this instance, it's been repurposed, right? I've taken it and figured out a way to do something else with it, right? So if I look at this, right, that's the B major sound. If I can just approach it from the root, all of a sudden I'm ending on that strategically an important note here. All right, so let's look at some other B ideas. Found a jazz player to jam with. That's cool. We were having a similar conversation with all blues. Yeah, absolutely. So whenever you find something, you can always think about like the yin to something's yang, right? You can always think about what the inverse is of something, and oftentimes that'll shine a light on Oh, I know something that works there. I'm gonna flip it around, and that lack of familiarity in terms of its application, but the presence of familiarity in terms of the execution can often lead to a wonderful amount of, oh, B flat is T? No, I'm playing B major. Right, but over its sixth mode. Oh. Okay, so I mean, I don't play these licks verbatim, but they're definitely stemming from patterns that I learned while I was trying to get my B major chops together. Just always going to be resolving to 3 frets down. So instead of going, I'm going to go A flat is the 6th mode of B. Absolutely. Shouldn't there be 3 note names? What does that mean, 3 note names? So yes, it is in fact the 6th mode. Okay, so that would be, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, that's a minor chord. So the fact is we're playing over the 6th of E is E minor, F, O, or G. Okay, so when there's no E minor here. We don't want E minor. We want E Lydian. Okay, when you think about it, what we're doing is we're playing. Okay, we're kind of playing this kind of flattens. We're playing the 4th of. There's no B minor, C. Okay, Gordon, you got me here. There's no B minor here. We're playing A flat minor, all right, or G sharp minor if you want to get really confused. All right, I tend to think about it as A flat minor. All right, so we've got. So if we're thinking about this as being a B major chord, right? We're going to need to approach. Let's go see what that sounds like. Examples from other keys. Oh, okay. So you're saying the playing E minor over G major? Yeah, absolutely. So this would be like the equivalent of doing that. It's not that revolutionary a concept. The thing is, a lot of times people sit there and they go, "Oh, it's E minor." Well, no, Gordon, it's fine. We can talk about it now. And he says, later I'll figure it out. We can talk about it. The main thing is most times people will realize, okay, this is A flat minor, and they'll just go. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, what are the ancillary notes, the notes that are actually going to make it sound a little bit more keyed into what's happening? So the big notes that happen out of just our typical box 1 here at the 4th fret, right, are going to be the 9 and the flat 6. Okay, so if we think about playing, avoiding the flat 6 until the 2nd chord, right? So if we're going to go. What's between A flat and B? Well, A flat has A and B flat. Okay, so these, okay, but if this is the That's the 6th chord, right? We would have B flat minor 7 flat 5 as the 7 chord. Okay. All right. Another way to look at that is like an F sharp dominant 7 chord with a 9th played from its 3rd, which is kind of a very long-winded way of saying. Sorry. Which is a great sound. Okay. I don't know how well it's going to work over the 6. Right? So yeah, I'm relying on my minor pentatonic stuff for sure, okay? But at the same time, I'm not neglecting the fact that the chord changes are going boom, boom, boom. See, that's the chord change that makes it want to go, right? That's the chord change, that E. That's the one that's really sending it into the stratosphere of that. Okay, so what we can't do is neglect this knowledge. We can't just like overlook it and expect to have a fully fledged idea come out with the same emotional specificity, right? The more notes you involve, yeah. Whoa, that's bad. The more notes you use, right, the more responsibilities you have, right? But you also have the ability to access sounds that you can't get without them, right? So, you know, take a minute to go through the. Okay, that's B major. That's the weird note, right? That's the note. All right, so that's E Lydian or C sharp minor with the major 6. That's the Dorian sound. That's the 2 of our B major. All right, so playing 2 of the 1 sounds good over the 6. That's a lot of circular talk there, but that's what's happening, right? All those positions that we learned when we learned how to go. That was all B major, all 7 modes, little triads and arpeggios. So by doing that, you learn the pathway that you're allowed to take. It's just not, we're playing not, we're not trying to resolve on B, its 3rd and its 5th. We're trying to resolve on A flat, its minor 3rd and its 5th. Okay? Take your time, nice and slow. Flat flat fives are still fine. I have yet to hit any weird modal notes. There's been no sixths, all right? Now I'm gonna bring it in. E note here and here. Very fun sound, right? I mean, you could really spend some time here and enjoy yourself. So this is just something I think we don't talk about an awful lot on the channel. I tend to fixate more on the Dorian sound than the Aeolian sound. That's what this is, right? Because to me, this should be second nature for us at this point. Just like I feel like the major. Well, god damn, this phone is just like, what's going on? Pardon me, gentlemen. This is unacceptable tech bullshit. I'm not prepared. I'm not a good producer of this kind of content. My apologies, gentlemen. So the idea is like, to me, I think of major scale as being very basic, but I don't mean that to sound like an asshole. I mean that to sound like, well, I mean, I've been working with that tool for a long time, but there's, hundreds of people that I know by virtue of having this channel that reach out that I think they think that it's just, it only has this one application, but the truth is it has 7 applications, right? It has the application over the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, the 6 chord, right? And so, yeah, we've got to get our major scale together if we're ever going to know how to handle the home bass like sound of each of the types of chords that we play over. Now this is, again, we're not hearing the extension in the chord. It's not like we're playing over this. Right? That E note comes in as the second chord. So more like as a monolith, right? It's not like we're not doing something like that. We're going we're not doing anything as fun as that. We're kind of holding it back a little bit for that second chord, right? Boom. Right? Very fun. So get down with that a little bit. Right? That's going to sound nice. So that's the third of that E. Right? So far, it's all pentatonic, right? So all you need to do is instead of going, what's up, Jack? I saw The Kind last night. Yeah, the guitar player from The Kind, Tom, he and I know each other through a couple of various websites that I've been a lurker on and participator on from time to time, and some Facebook stuff. He seems like a nice guy. I think he's a little bit more dedicated to just Grateful Dead music, it seems. But I mean, I don't know. I could be talking out of my ass. That band's been around forever, so kudos to him for keeping the flame alight all these years. I can't seem to get any real traction with in terms of crowds or anything like that. And so the funny thing is, everybody seems to think that talent has something to. I think I'm a pretty talented guitar player. I do. So it's a bit of a head scratcher that when I play, thousands of people don't come out, but maybe I just don't do it right. I clearly don't please the masses. So I'm happy to teach, but I guess I'm as far as what my ultimate goals are, which is to entertain people publicly, like in clubs and stuff like that. New York City just seems to kind of fallen down in terms of having, maybe it's a function of the rent being so high, but the emphasis is never, these days, is never on the quality of the music that you're providing. It's more about more about whether or not you're selling lots of drinks and stuff like that. I don't think this has to do with anything really other than, believe it or not, I think the reality is maybe I play a kind of music that people aren't really that interested in my region, or if they are, they don't come out that often. New York is filled with a lot of like DoorDash delivery type people who just stay. They go to their work and then they come back to their little cubby hole and they don't come out. I'm sure. Thank you guys. Obviously, you got. I am effectively preaching to a choir. The fact is, you see me live and you're like, oh, I'll join that chat. So aside from feeling a little down about that, it's still not a mystery to me what's going on. So let's talk a little bit more about some of these mysteries, though, that might be in your playing, right? What am I doing? The main riffs that I keep harping on are finding these. Okay, that right there is a really nice sound. That's going to be a minor 7 arpeggio, 1 flat 3. And this is based off this A flat note. Okay, and then once you come up here, it's time to channel your David Gilmour. Right? A lot of hitting that 9. Okay, that's the same shape over the C sharp minor chord. So what am I doing here? The best thing about the minor arpeggio is that it appears 3 times in the modes of B, all right? More so than any other arpeggio shape. If we were going to look at the modes of B major, right, we'd have a major 7 arpeggio over the 1 chord, a minor 7 over the 2, another minor 7 over the 3, another major 7 over the 4, a dominant 7 over the 5, another minor 7 arpeggio over the 6th, and a minor 7 flat 5 over the 7th mode. So that means modes 2, 3, and 6, that's 3 of 7 modes use the same shape. Okay, if we're gonna avoid the same way we can kind of access minor and major pentatonics as a generic shape that works over any and all minor chords or major chords, as the case may be if we flip it, right? If we avoid some of the modally tricky notes like the 4th and the 4th and the 7th in the major, okay, and it would be the 2 and the, god damn, what the hell is it? Oh, the 2 and the 6, right? If we avoid the 2 and the 6 when we're thinking of minor, right, we're going to end up with this shape right here. All right, so that would work over the 1 chord. Sorry, not the 1 chord, the 6 chord. All right, so if we bring that back, we're going to be looking at the 2 chord, which is C sharp minor. And then the 3 chord. So let's hear that same arpeggio shape in 3 different spots over top of here. surprises there. That needs a little tailoring to make it fit. All right, and now if we come here. That does too, right at the end. Needs resolution. There it is, right? Thank you, Mark. Man, Mark Knopfler his guitar playing has been a cornerstone in teaching me economy. And I don't mean like picking economy, I mean like saying a lot with very little. All right, he's kind of like the pop and rock version of B.B. King in some ways, right? B.B. King didn't play a lot of notes, but boy, oh boy, the notes that he played really sat perfectly. And it was like a real, him and Gilmour, right, on the rock side of things, really altered the way I look at playing over top of minor chords in particular, right? Now, obviously, my predilection towards this channel is featuring Grateful Dead music, right? I've always kind of thought that Garcia and Mark Knopfler had some stuff in common, because I think Garcia was pretty good at being economical with the major stuff, in particular by virtue of playing the melody so often. Even though he's known for taking these extended solos, I felt like Garcia was very, very keyed into the important, like the money notes, right? Rather than kind of blowing all over the place, which for a guy like me, I feel like I'm a capable musician, like really good. But one thing I can't do is ridiculous Al Di Meola picking and shredding. I ain't no shredosaurus. I'm built for comfort, not for speed. All right. So, you know, Gilmour and Knopfler, when it comes to the minor stuff, really spoke to me. Those were the guys who kind of set me up to sound good over minor chords. So if you don't know your Floyd and you don't know your, I mean, obviously I think that both those guys could probably do anything they wanted to do, with the exception of play super shreddy shit. Neither of them are particularly adept at playing fast. But boy, oh boy, when it comes time to making a note sing or cry, Mark Knopfler, you could do a damn sight worse than emulating Mark Knopfler's approach or David Gilmour's approach. So, you know, those are the two guys that I'm channeling most when I think about this stuff. And then I'm taking it one step further and taking those ideas and filtering it through my own ideas regarding how to steal from one mode over the next. So like I have this idea about this run over E Lydian. Right? I play that all the time, okay? So I go, oh shit, E Lydian is C sharp minor, Dorian is the 5, that's the 4 of the home key. Let's see what that sounds like against there. So there's some wood weird coincidence because this week I've been digging into Knopfler. Well, I couldn't be happier that you're taking it upon yourself to do something good. It's no, there's no, there's no mysteries in the guitar world. It's like, how could you Shine On You Crazy Diamond Part 1, or does it even apply? Well, okay, in a way it does, but I mean, Shine On You Crazy Diamond has some real serious changes that we have to think about. All right, let's think about that, right? So we've got, right, that's, right? All right, so that's over G minor, right? So it's already not the same mode. Okay, we're hearing a G minor chord, right? That's our G, and here's our minor third, right? So that's, so we're already seeing a Dorian sixth, not this sound that we're after today, not the natural minor. So if you want to think about, well, what you could use it, all we'd have to do is say this is the 2 of F major, so therefore what's the 6th of F major? D. Right, so if we said D Aeolian, and so you'll see the same happening there over the D note. That seems, again, we can do all this kind of filtering. The other thing we can do is just learn a shit ton of Dorian licks, right? And learn a bunch of, Aeolian licks. The problem with Shine On You Crazy Diamond is it does not stay modally consistent like this progression. This progression stays within the family tree, so to speak, right? It doesn't have any platypus chords. It doesn't have any weird shit borrowed from another species. We've got, remember when you were young, you shone like the sun. Was it shone? There it is. Yeah. So we've got G minor, F minor, F sharp major goes up to B flat, E flat major. Then we've got, yeah, so it's E flat, B flat, C minor, B flat, F, and then back up to G minor, B flat, E flat, D flat, C minor, B flat, and then F. Something like that, and then we have the descending line cliche. And then an ascending line cliche. What is it? And then, so Shine On You Crazy Diamond is a totally different type of creature than this outro jam from Brothers in Arms that I stole. Okay, totally different. Really cool. All right, it has descending and ascending line cliches. Okay, that's that part where we're hearing effectively the part from, we've got, the Stairway to Heaven chord changes, right? All right, then suture that onto diminished, then the same chord again, and then another diminished. Then so that's going to be. Right, that's the really odd chord change there. It's not that dissimilar, honestly, to what the Dead do, in that. So we're taking the third of that F sharp major and making it the root of our next thing. Very cool song though. It's obviously like that's a magnum opus. I mean that's the entire theme of that record, right? Is this the dissolution of the self and the ego and the slow glide into insanity that grabbed hold of Mr. Syd Barrett. So their best friend, and it's kind of the guiding light of early the Pink Floyd rather than Pink Floyd. So it's weird to say it, but in a way, for musical history, it seems like it was a good thing that the guy went crazy and got out of the way and allowed David Gilmour to come in and kind of fill his shoes, which seemed like, I'm sure to fans of Pink Floyd, that it was a real problem. I came in late. Hi, no problem at all. Robert, it's great to see you. You're here in CO. You hear the same also in Ship of Fools. We've got some, Ship of Fools has some very, how will I say, arabesque, chord changes. Quite involved. So yeah. So what do we hear when we're doing that? Let's get out of here. I don't mind migrating to another song. Let's say we're doing that. So if we do we've got went to see the captain. Okay, so that's 1. We're in the key of B flat, right? Went to see the 5 to the 4 diminished chord. Strangest I could find, laid my proposition down, laid it on the line. Won't slave for beggars pay. New chord, right? D minor instead of D7. Our first time we did the Ray Charles thing, right? But this time we're going. I won't slave for beggars pay, likewise gold and jewels, but I would slave to learn the way to sink your ship of fools, on a cruel sea, ship of fools, sail away from me. Wow, that's a nice chord change. And then this is definitely maybe the money part you're talking about. It was later than I thought, when I first to the diminished chord. No, I cannot share your laugh. Your laugh was it? Cannot share your laughter, ship of fools. Was that na na da 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 da? Beautiful chord changes. All right, quite involved, and it's not the kind of thing that you just wing out on. You can't just. You're gonna have to come up with some real ideas over something like that. That's not just like, oh, let's play just the natural minor scale. Okay. So we've got quite a lot of homework if we want to tackle a tune like Ship of Fools. And if you do, by all means, feel free to check out shameless plug, the solo that I took over this with like a 35-minute note for note example of it is pretty on point. It's pretty sweet. All right, I think it goes 2 or 3 times through. That's a little gold mine. It's got a lot of good stuff in there, and nice backing track courtesy of Jeff Williams, by the way. He didn't make it for me. That is totally available online for you. That solo is not transcribed though by my amazing transcriptionist Rye, and Rye is, I guess it's about time I called him up and spent a little bit more money having him transcribe my work, because folks seem to like those. All right, so look, what are we here to talk about? Natural minor, but obviously it's fine if things drift after a while. There's only so much time we can spend dedicated to talking about the 6th mode of the B major scale. Right? That's all we were working with today, folks. It's not that big a deal, right? So figure out your B major stuff. Nope. Yes. So then E Lydian, F sharp, and then we've got, what would it be? G. And then we've got our all right, I'm going to take off because it's been about an hour here and nobody seems to be asking any specific questions. So if you've got a specific question, I'm happy to try to field it before I am summoned back upstairs. But I believe that it is time for the care and feeding of myself and others in this family. All right. Hang loose, guys. I'll see you around, okay? Cheers.